I grew up very close to the Dallas Naval Air Station, and the sound of jet noise was something that was very familiar to me, and it sort of informed my I guess my early life. I love aviation, I love jets, I love space exploration, I loved all that stuff. So when you're talking about a movie like The Right Stuff, yeah, this is right up my alley. I learned a lot about aviation from the Wings documentary over on the Discovery Channel back in the day. I mean, I don't even know when it aired, but I watched a lot of that, and it was fascinating stuff. Learning about the X1 all the way up to the X15, and then getting to see those live and in person at the Smithsonian in Washington D.C. was an amazing thing. But look, the fact is, we're here to talk about The Right Stuff, and you're looking at a 40-year-old movie that really encapsulates all of what it takes to be a test pilot and then what it took for those early astronauts to do what they do. I mean, the Mercury 7 program was, I mean, there was a lot of just trial and error, and it was kind of an amazing time to be somebody like that, to work under those conditions, not knowing if you're even going to survive the next launch. I mean, it's an amazing thing that these men were able to do. Now let's talk about the acting for a second, because if you look at the cast list, you go, "Wow, there's this is amazing." But the thing is this is an early movie in their careers. Nobody was a star making this movie. I mean, you've got early performances from Ed Harris, Dennis Quaid, and Scott Glenn, and Jeff Goldblum, who, like, what? And Barbara Hershey. And then I guess one of the biggest ones, the ones that came out of this was like, oh my God, was Sam Shepard. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for playing Chuck Yeager, and it's just amazing. All I can say is I look at that cast list and I go, across the board, everybody did a great job. I loved it. I love the acting in this movie. Now, just an interesting tidbit. Caleb Deschanel was the cinematographer for The Right Stuff, and his wife plays Annie, John Glenn's wife, and her name is Mary Jo Deschanel. And they have a couple of children that are in movies today, and that is Zoe and Emily. I didn't realize that they were from a famous family in movies. William Goldman was originally tapped to write the script, and unfortunately, he and the director Philip Kaufman disagreed on many occasions. And Philip Kaufman basically said, "Okay, well, bye, and I'll finish the script." Yeah, Goldman left and didn't have anything to do with the movie after that. After that initial script writing, and Goldman said that he didn't like the way the film turned out because it basically makes Yeager into the only hero of the story. And Chuck Yeager, look, he's an amazing guy. But the whole thing is, these astronauts didn't just get lucky. They even say in the documentary that they had a bond that is like no other. You know, they suffered through things that and worked together and supported each other, and then competed against each other in so many different. It's such a unique experience that they went through, that it's unfortunate that Chuck Yeager basically was like, oh, he's like a god among pilots or something. I don't know. It is larger than life, but it is, and it is cool. I'm not gonna lie. I like the movie because I love Chuck Yeager, but it's not just his story, you know. Now, I think one of the biggest missteps that the movie does is that it unfortunately basically blames Gus Grissom for the hatch being blown open after he lands in the water, and saying that, oh, he just lost it. He got claustrophobic and hit the button and all that kind of stuff. Of course, that was proved wrong by NASA. Something happened that, basically made that hatch blow open. I think one of the rescue helicopter guys said he saw something weird. Like there was an arc. There was some arcing happening, and because of the static electricity, when you fall from the atmosphere or through the atmosphere, that static electricity is generated. It blew open the hatch, and of course that meant that the capsule sank. So blaming it on Gus Grissom in the movie is kind of a bummer. And it in a way I can understand that it was introducing some drama there, but I just don't think it was needed. And especially after Gus Grissom unfortunately died on the launch pad with two other astronauts later on in the program, it's is kind of a weird choice to go ahead and go that route in the movie. One of the aspects of the film that I mean was very highly applauded, at the time was the special effects, the visual effects, the flying, the model work and all that kind of stuff. Especially today, watching it today, it feels aged, and like even the sort of almost like supernatural elements, like the aborigines are there at one point, with the fireflies outside John Glenn's capsule, and I'm just like, I'm not understanding exactly what they're trying to get across here. And even the at the beginning, and throughout, when they're breaking through the sound barrier, this sort of, surreal, vapor like motion of the clouds and all that kind of, it's just a little much for me. Now, the model work is actually pretty well done, but then there are certain shots that are it's absolutely obvious that it's literally a model hanging from a string, and they're just throwing it down the string. But it's weird how effective it is with the sound design and all that stuff. But that is something to keep in mind when you're watching it, is that this is made in 1983. There is no CG. They had to do this stuff all on the fly, and it's still ingenious the way it works, but it does date the movie a little bit. Now, one aspect of that I did enjoy was Royal Dano playing the preacher, and sort of him in a way, he's there and present, like he's death hovering over these men. There's a possibility that they might not come back, and it's one of the elements of the story that I really kind of appreciated. It's a little creepy, but it's also kind of neat too. You know what I mean? It's a cool idea. Now, I hadn't seen this movie in about 20 years, something like that, and enjoyed it then, loved it, wanted to buy it, and just never got around to it. So when I saw this Blu-ray, I was like, I'm picking it up. I saw it at Half Price Books. I'm like, this is a deal. Let's get it. But one of the things that was really kind of surprising to me watching it again was how many F-bombs there are in the movie. This is a PG movie, right? And there's F-bombs in it. And I counted 3, but IMDb says that there's 5. I was like, I was kind of shocked. But the thing is this is such an adult movie that kids are going to be watching this. Now, do I think that kids that are interested in aviation, should they watch a movie like this? Absolutely. This movie is fantastic. Back in 1983, this movie just didn't do well. It didn't do well at all. A part of it was because of John Glenn was actually running for president, and they thought that this was sort of a, I don't know, like a raw piece, which it really isn't. I mean, John Glenn is definitely a hero, just like the other guys are. But it's not there to be support for his campaign. I mean, he lost the nomination to Walter Mondale, who ended up losing to Ronald Reagan in '84 anyway. But the fact of the matter is, that's part of the reason why people didn't want to watch it. The other part of it is that it's 3 hours and 13 minutes long. And the thing about this movie is I just don't get it. It doesn't feel that. I don't feel that running time at all when I'm watching it. And maybe it's because I'm so invested in the story. I'm invested in the characters who are real people. All of that comes into play, but I think this movie's fantastic. And it actually got nominated for 8 Academy Awards. One of them for cinematography, which it didn't win, unfortunately, but it did win for best sound editing, best film editing, and best original score by Bill Conti. Now, here's where I'm like, there's so much about this movie that feels timeless. I mean, it is about a certain period of time, but it just feels timeless. It doesn't feel like it's aged 40 years. Like, you watch this movie and you go, this is 40 years old, really? Except for the music. Like, the music feels like a product of that early 80s, and I'm just not a fan. There's a lot of composers who have done work that if you listen to it, you go, I don't know when that was recorded. It's beautiful. This, in a lot of ways, it just sounds like a product of the early 80s. It almost feels like, I'm just going to say it, sometimes it feels like a TV theme. Like, there's not a whole lot of depth to it. Now, of course, when he's doing things like taking the planets and rearranging it and all that stuff, that's different. That's an existing work that he's put in there. But I'm talking about his own stuff. I don't know. Am I the only one that feels that way? Now I'll say that this is a digibook, right? So it's a Blu-ray, but it comes with the movie, and then it comes with the special features. Which, isn't that a cool shot? I love that shot of Jaeger. All of this stuff is neat, and it's got some of the artwork, different shots from the movie, behind the scenes stuff. That's cool, but the regular Blu-ray is out there and it's available and it's cheap. It's 10, 11 bucks. I say, yeah, if you haven't seen the right stuff and you like movies like that, like movies about the space program, movies about aviation, pick it up. It's a great, great movie. There is a quite lengthy documentary about John Glenn on here. That's sort of separate from the production completely, but there's also quite a bit of commentary. Not a full commentary, but a commentary on selected scenes from the cast and the crew, which is really really cool to watch. I mean, I enjoyed it. And then there's some documentaries about the making of the movie in there too. And Chuck Yeager is in there, and getting to hear from him, because he basically consulted on the entire movie and was actually in the film, which is kind of neat too. But I really enjoyed this whole process of going through this movie again, and I highly recommend it. If you've got the ability and the desire, I say go for it. It's awesome. So you tell me, have you seen The Right Stuff, and what do you think about it? Let's talk about it down in the comment section, because I mean, look, I love this movie. It's great. Even though there are a couple of things technically that I'm like, I wish that was done a little better. It's still a fantastic, fantastic watch. Easy watch, I'll even say. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.